Recording, and this is the benefit counselor training call for Ernest Packaging, and it is 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, Thursday the 27th. We've got the E3 call center folks on the phone, and we're just going to go over the enrollment guide real quickly, see if anybody has any questions. Also, what I want to really make sure, and this is the main reason for doing this call, is to just give you a little bit of history, some background information on this account, because I think it's going to be pertinent. Not all accounts we have to do that for, but I think in this case it's going to be quite necessary. A little bit of the background. This group has been in McCary's district for quite some time. I was, however, not involved until last year's enrollment. Last year they had a huge change. The broker that came in wanted us to move from an individual to a chassis. And I apologize because I could see that Mike's trying to call in on the other line. I'm going to let him know that it started and we recorded, so give me 1 second. Hi, folks. Sorry about that. It is Mike, and he is going to try to jump in, but I'm going to continue anyway. So I jumped onto this case last year. The broker, Lockton Insurance, decided to move all the plans from an individual to a group chassis. We did a full-blown enrollment on Harmony, and there's 550 employees, multiple state enrollment. Let's just put it this way. From when I took over, my understanding was it was already a sensitive case before I was involved. And it was really imperative that last year that this goes well. It was a premier account. Apparently there were issues in the past that I wasn't privy to. And they were nitpicking quite a bit. Anytime anything went possibly wrong, we heard about it. Let's just put it that way. And then to top things off, and this is probably the caveat, and I'm surprised we actually did not lose this account, we actually had a benefit counselor at one of the locations show up drunk. So if your jaw is hitting the floor right now, yes, that actually happened, and we were for sure thinking we were going to lose this account. Surprisingly, it did not. The good thing is the business is still on the books. Everybody is under the group chassis. There was no choice. They either rolled over or they took it portable. They dropped the payroll slot for the individual plans. And so for this year, because of the issues we had last year, instead of doing any on-site benefit counselors, and I guess they didn't want to have any more issues with people showing up that way, they decided to keep Colonial in place, but to go with a call center passive enrollment. So that's where we're at right now. And again, the group is Ernest Packaging. I'm just going to use the guidelines. If you guys are seeing what I'm seeing on the screen, this is already in the Dropbox. I've already also downloaded all the field bills into the Dropbox, and I'll also take this recording in case anybody needs to review it in the Dropbox as well. Since it's going to be a passive enrollment, even with that, the broker is also going to be flying to most of the locations to do meetings at the Ernest locations, and she'll also be talking about the Colonial. We're also having home office premier accounts do up flyers and posters with the E3 call center number on it as well, and those are going to be drop shipped. So hopefully during the presentation with the broker, they'll be handing out those flyers, and hopefully the posters will get out as soon as possible as well. They already have the PDF copy of it. The open enrollment is the month of October. Mike was estimating probably maybe 40 plus calls. I mean, there's 550 employees, but you know, with a passive enrollment, we can get 20 calls or we can get 200 calls. Unfortunately, we don't know what you guys are going to get, but hopefully, because it's over the whole month, you won't be slammed. I would assume, and I do not have the schedule yet of when the benefit counselor is going to be on site, but as soon as I do, I will forward that information to you, because typically the most calls will follow a presentation, and I'm hoping that will be the case in this case. So if I know when they're going to do a presentation, I can send you guys an email saying, hey, the broker is going to be out on the 5th, and so expect maybe some more calls from this state on that particular day. A few other key things, I'm just going to briefly go down. You can see here all the states that are involved: California, Nevada, Utah, Oregon, Texas, North Carolina, Arizona, and Idaho. And this is a huge change. This just happened yesterday. They decided to change the deduction frequency. This group has 4 different databases, and I'll go over that in a second here, because that's really the main sticky part about this, is the multiple BCNs and the multiple databases. But all the locations per the account yesterday have changed to a 24 deduction frequency, but they are still paid 26 times a year, which means that all the databases were, all the existing employees were basically ported out, so we can make that change and port it back in, because that's the only way to do 26 to 24 in Harmony. And I still have not figured out why they can't correct that and make us go through pulling everything out and putting everything back in just to change that particular pay frequency and deduction frequency. Anything else that was already in there, we have deleted. So that's the biggest change that just happened not even 24 hours ago. These are basic guidelines. I tried to kind of make it similar to the E3 call center guidelines. My understanding is you guys are used to seeing core benefits on the 4th page, so I kind of try to keep that similar, but there are no core benefits. It's just a strict colonial enrollment on Harmony. Here are the underwriting guidelines. I even copied and pasted the actual guidelines from Wayne Hamilton. So if you're not sure about guaranteed issue or face amounts, all of that is in the guidelines, and you can just look at page 4 and page 5 on the guidelines, and it'll all be there for you. Where I know it's going to get complicated, and where we have had some issues in the past, and I don't know why it was set up this way, but it was set up this way. There's 4 different databases. And the one really confusing part is I did notice actually yesterday that under the main location, which is what I'll call Commerce, the Ernest Paper FPB database, there you will see there are some North Carolina employees in there. However, North Carolina has its own database. So please use the appropriate database and make sure you select the correct BCN number when transmitting. So for Ernest, under this database here, the F2901239, that'll include Reno, Las Vegas, and Sacramento. So you'll have only those 2 BCN numbers in that database. Salt Lake City has its own database. North Carolina has its own database. All the other locations are under that Ernest Paper FPB with the Commerce, Houston, Isle 9, Boise, Portland. They're all going to be in this particular database. And I have the BCN numbers with the correct CAN numbers listed. I broke it out all for you. So it's just a matter of being diligent when you go to transmit to pick not only the right database when you enroll them, but also the right BCN number and CAN number when you transmit. Also, they have a Uville site as well. We had that updated. Flyers, posters, everything else is pretty much straightforward. The main thing I'm sure Mike would want, I don't know if he ever jumped on or not, would want to make sure that we're very careful with, is to be professional. I know you guys are already handpicked, and you are. And just to make sure, if you're not sure about something, give me a call. I will try to get you an answer as soon as possible. And that you just really carefully look at the colonial plans that are being offered and the GIs that are available. We had some issues with that as well last year. They thought, pre-existing conditions was going to be perpetual. We actually did get a lot of concessions this year, but it'll be this year only. So if somebody really needs to get something with GI, this is the time to do it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else aside from those specific changes. So I'm kind of going to open up the floor for any questions that anybody might have regarding the account. Does anybody have any questions?
Hey, yeah, it's Cassie Kramer here. Really quickly, just to double and triple check myself and make sure I'm understanding correctly. I hopped over into Harmony just to sort of cross-reference what it is you're saying there. So there are, let me go back. There are then 4 different accounts then in Harmony for the Ernest paper.
Yes, 4 separate databases.
To get that location list pulled up so we know what is going where, correct?
Yes, each location will have, now you might find a couple extra ones in this last one right here, the large one that has the majority of them, for whatever reason, there is a BCN number in there for North Carolina. I don't know why it's in there. And some of the things we could not get deleted out, even with the home office's help. This is actually slimmed down. If you would have saw last year's, you would have laughed your head off. So this has actually gotten a lot better. But the main one that's a little confusing is North Carolina, because North Carolina now has its own database. So if you get somebody from North Carolina, just use the North Carolina database. Other than that, you should just go by the guidelines. If you're not sure, or if you see another location under a database and you're not sure where they're supposed to go, just call me or send me a quick email.
So really quickly here, and I apologize.
Sure.
Looking at this, and I have to scroll back and look. Do we have information on how individuals go with each BCN? Because you've got lots there. How do we differentiate between the BCNs? Is that driven by?
All it is the location. And the locations are also broken out in the database. And unless there's been some new hires, the employees are already in there with their correct location. So when somebody calls you, you just ask them what location. If they say, oh, I'm from Fresno, then you know to go to this last database here, the Ernest paper FPB, because that's where Fresno is. Somebody calls and says they were Vista, this is the database to go to. And within that database, it's broken down by BCN number.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't making sense, but if we have, for example, the Reno, Las Vegas, Sacramento location there, I'm seeing at least 2 BCNs that are coming in under Reno, Las Vegas, Ernest People, Reno, hyphen Las Vegas and / Las Vegas.
Reno and Vegas are together, and I'm going to open it up for you.
Never mind. Stupid question. I was looking at a BCN to can. Never mind.
No problem. Matter of fact, I was going to open it up and kind of give you an idea here for anybody who's actually have it pulled up in front. Here's the Ernest paper. This is the main location, FPB. Okay. Let's go to billing control numbers just to give you an idea.
I got it. I was in it and can, and it didn't process in my brain.
Actually, I think I did pull out the North Carolina last year from here because that got really confusing, so it's not even in here. It's been pulled. So you have all your BCN numbers, and then also within that database, you've got all these. It just wouldn't let me pull out this North Carolina one in here, but there is no BCN number associated with this database. But if you look at the guidelines, North Carolina has its own database, so you'll be fine. And let me do this here real quickly, just to show you guys. And I thought I heard Mike come on. Here is the 4 databases. Reno, Las Vegas, which is under the same BCN number, and Sacramento. Salt Lake has its own. North Carolina has its own. All the other ones are under this FPB. And that should match up completely with my guidelines. And if it doesn't, and you find something that is aloof there, just give me a call and let me know immediately. But I kind of went through this with a fine-tooth comb. It should be accurate. Did anybody else have any more questions regarding the database, the BCN numbers, the CAN numbers? And by the way, I put the CAN numbers as well, so it's separated out. These 2 are with this BCN number, and this Sacramento's this BCN number, and they're all under this database. Mike, did you get on? Mike? Okay, I think he tried. I saw a text come through, and he wasn't able to get on. But the colonial part of this is pretty straightforward. It's just the sensitivity of the account. Just making sure if you're not sure about something, let me know, and making sure we give them correct information, and we're state specific. Actually, it's group products, so it's side of state California. I don't expect too many bilingual, but there might be a few. And most of those will probably come out of California. Did anybody else have any other questions? Okay, well, I'm not going to hold you guys. I know some of you are back east, and it's already after 5 o'clock. I'm just going to transpose this recording. I'll send the link to you guys. I'm sure there was probably something I forgot, and probably later on a question for you guys that might come up. So let's just stay in contact. You all have my contact information. If anything else changes, like it did with the deduction frequencies yesterday, I will let you know immediately. I'll send an email out as well as update the guidelines in the Dropbox. And if any further questions come up either during the enrollment or even prior to the enrollment, if you have any other questions that you didn't think of today, please call me or send me a quick email. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And I guess that'll end the recording right now. And thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Just stay in contact if anything comes up, all right?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks much. I appreciate everything.